Hello and welcome to Kiss My Asparagus podcast. My name is Latasha, and today I'm here with a special guest, Mr. Richard Weston Rogers Jr. is a whole food, plant-based vegan entrepreneur, speaker, coach, author, and yogi who combines the plant-based lifestyle with running and meditation for betterment and daily well-being. Richard is the director of Philadelphia VegFest and founder of the former Ambler Vegan Company, a high raw vegan restaurant in Ambler, Pennsylvania. He lives in the suburban Philadelphia area with three dogs who are also employees of Geese Peace Goose Solutions, a canine geese control company Richard founded over 25 years ago when he was a third grade teacher. He is a legacy graduate of Franklin and Marshall College, where he studied English and holds a Master of Science in Education from Drexel University. Richard has lived a whole food plant-based vegan lifestyle since 2013 and provides awareness and knowledge of the whole food plant-based vegan lifestyle through coaching, speaking, and writing Healthful, Purposeful Living. Help me to welcome Richard to the podcast today. Thank you for joining me, Richard.
Thank you for having me. Hello.
So, let's start from the beginning. What inspired you to explore a vegan lifestyle? And was it health, ethics, environment? Tell me a little bit about why you started a plant-based lifestyle.
I'll see if I can bring the timeline in a bit, but for me, it was always something that had to do with health and I guess the way I was feeling, and a lot of it had to do with being a runner. So I always wanted to be able to fuel myself for my running. You know, I ran as a kid, but I just started competitively in middle school and then in high school. But it was always kind of about my running. How was I eating? Am I eating the best way that I know how? And at the time, I guess I was, because that's when we thought, you know, we ate from these well-rounded meals of meat and vegetables and starches and whatnot, fruits. But yeah, for me, it was always a journey with food. You know, there were some things that even in my teen years, I stopped eating, like hot dogs and soda, just things that I knew were definitely detrimental to my health and would keep me out of the dental seat also, you know, all that sugar rushing across my teeth from soda. But the awareness, I guess greater awareness came when I was in my 20s. And I started having some issues with dairy products.
Okay.
That's when my teaching days. And it's funny because it's just at the time I started finding a milk that I could drink. It was dairy fresh skim milk from Fresh Fields back then, which became Whole Foods. And I think, well, I guess maybe finding milk that I thought I liked was a blessing because the more I drank, the more difficulty I was having. And I realized, okay, there's something going on with consuming this milk and this milk in my cereal that took me away from the dairy. So that's when I started getting some awareness of different foods doing strange things in my body and cut back on the dairy. Flashing forward from then, maybe being mid 90s to about 2003. I guess the biggest jump for me was when I heard about something called the Master Cleanse, Stanley Burroughs Master Cleanse, and I tried it. I thought it was really intriguing to me to try out something like this that seems strange to many people. But that cleanse was what led me into chasing this feeling. I remember day two of the cleanse, I woke up just like I was just super fueled at 6 a.m. And all throughout the week of the cleanse, it had its high moments and its low moments. But the things I noticed were a lot of energy, um, a lot of clarity in my mind. My stomach was calm. There was no strangeness from eating strange foods, and my body, it smelled really good. And those things, I remember thinking, how can I get to feel like this all the time? And that's when I started chasing this high of the feeling that was coming from food. And then after the cleanse, you know, you would break the fast by coming back slowly with soup and fresh juices. So those things being organic, that was taking me back into fresh fields or Whole Foods. And with those trips to the store, I started seeing different things, different foods, getting curious about this, that, trying different things, and just reading more brought more knowledge. So it was definitely a journey, and I'm still in the journey even after all these years. But it was a progressive thing. Um, when I brought myself to the point when I considered myself to be fully, I guess, whole food, plant based, and no oil. I wasn't even thinking about the vegan side of things yet. But as I was eating more foods and less food with a violent history behind it, I was finding that I was becoming more sensitive and aware of issues with animals and different things in the environment. So I slowly just kind of got into that side of the world as well.
Nice. Okay. So it did affect you emotionally, mentally, and spiritually.
Oh, yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay. So were there any role models or books that influenced your shift to plant-based living along the
T.
way?
Colin, yeah, T. Colin Campbell
Okay.
and his son Thomas Campbell, the China study. That
Hmm.
was a major changer, major game changer for me. And also with Caldwell Esselstyn, Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease. Those two books were major in the awareness of what food can actually do as far as changing the trajectory of your health
Hmm.
through food and bringing different types of foods into the body that could not only avoid certain ailments that people are dealing with, but reverse conditions that people already have. So that was
Absolutely.
something that was just revolutionary to me. I didn't know that people could actually reverse conditions.
Yeah, the China study was definitely an eye
Mhm.
opener for me as well. It was definitely one of the big shifts for me in my perspective on, diet in general. So, yeah. So, when you first started, how did you like find community? Or what does community mean to you? And, how did you find it along your journey?
That's interesting. I'm going to shift my chair for a second. I thought I was in a nice shady spot, and I found myself right in the heart of what's happening. So bear with me as I back up.
No problem.
I'm just right in the sun. That's why I love this tree because it gives me all this shade. But today, it's not happening. Hold on, let me grab my drink. Okay. So finding community. I think my first bit of supportive community for this lifestyle was actually right in my own house or in my own family. My brother and I were sort of following the same trajectory. And he's the one who introduced me to the China study. He used to actually work with Colin a little bit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And yeah, he was a special advisor to T. Colin Campbell for a while. So he was always talking about stuff that was coming from that camp. And the importance of having somebody close to you who is sort of following the same course is it's immeasurable
Yes.
because we're ridiculed by everybody else for what we do with the food, but my brother and I could bounce things off of each other and introduce different things to each other. So that was the first community for me directly, as far as finding somebody who understood what I was doing. It was a lonely time. I mean, I guess I don't know when your change was, but you're on your own,
Yeah. I
and
can
people think
totally
you're
relate to that
crazy.
for sure.
It's nuts, and they tease you about what you're doing, and your community becomes what you can find online, what you can read, and some people that maybe even once in a little bit out of it or out of the ordinary. But if I think about, there's a timeline that I have in my head that I kind of work with. The biggest jump in community for me, well, I was dedicated to the lifestyle. So I've always liked to cook. I was finding different things I could do with food, experimenting, reading. But there was a point in time when I was already sold, and I was showing forks over knives in the local community out here in Norristown, Pennsylvania. And I had invited my brother to be a speaker at the end. And so I don't know if you've heard of Gangster Vegan or Vinny
Yeah.
Vegan. That's
Uh-huh.
back when Vinny had just started his restaurant. So I asked Vincent to come and do a talk back. And my brother said to me, there's there's a guy I know named Bill Crafso. And Bill, he said, Bill has a forum called Let Food Be Thy Medicine on Facebook. And he may have people who want to attend the movie. Why don't you send the message to him? So I sent that to Bill, and he ended up coming to the Borough Hall about 15 minutes before we were about to start the movie. I'd never met him before. And he quickly told me this story from his life about at age 42, how he had a quadruple bypass because of the terrible life he had been nutritionally, his terrible life. His parents had both died when he was young, so he was adopted after that. But of heart disease, they died. And Bill said, basically, I grew up eating snowballs and Twinkies.
Oh,
He
wow.
didn't know anything about nutrition, but the bypass he had was botched. Not all of the bypasses took. He also they damaged his phrenic nerve, which made him lose use of his right lung, and he got this terrible infection. I mean, he told me just this in 5 minutes, and that he had stumbled across the work of Caldwell Esselstyn and Colin Campbell, and he actually called Caldwell Esselstyn and started learning about his protocol, whole food, plant-based, no oil living. And that's what was sustaining Bill and keeping him alive, because he was depressed and really lost, didn't know what he was going to do. He said, I had this terrible surgery, and now I'm going to die after this surgery. So anyway, I said, you have to tell that story after the movie. So he joined the panel. And maybe a few weeks after that, we had been in touch. I checked out his forum and was active on there. And he, at some point, asked me to become an admin on the forum. And that's where a lot of community came from. Long story to get to the answer of your question. But not only were we then communing and conversing with people who were in the lifestyle, we were also answering questions and guiding people to this fantastic work. And not just Dr. Esselstyn, not just Dr. Campbell, but Dr. Greger and Dr. Mills and Dr. Montgomery and the whole list of them. There's so many of them we can name.
Yeah. Now, I do have a question. What you drinking over there?
This is my smoothie for today. Actually, this is the second one I've gone into. This is banana, papaya, blueberry, kale, and hemp seeds,
Nice,
all
nice.
from the Vitamix. So when I'm on the way I'm supposed to be, I'm drinking 2 pitchers of smoothie a day. So I'll really juice them up or fill them to where they're like 1,000 or 1,100 calorie smoothies. So if I can get 2 of those in a day, that's great on top of whatever I eat. But yeah, these are remarkable.
Yeah. So, as director of Philly VegFest, how do you define the mission of the event?
The mission of the event, well, whenever we give the description, we talk about Philadelphia VegFest being a celebration of the whole food, plant-based, vegan lifestyle, and bringing together vendors of food and art and activism and service, as well as speakers, dynamic speakers on one stage, and then great music from the lifestyle on another stage. So I look at it just as, all we're doing is for a few hours bringing a whole bunch of people together who share the same lifestyle just to gather information and exchange ideas. But the mission of it is in there as well. I mean, the mission is to provide awareness about the whole food, plant-based vegan lifestyle and awareness of the health aspects, number one, that we do not have to be dealing with ailments and diseases that we are. And number two, the compassion element, not just for non-human animals, but for humans ourselves. It's kind of like the oxygen mask theory. We've got to take care of ourselves if we want to be able to take care of everybody else. So a great deal of community, compassion, and intersectionality is definitely a big component for me. Now, that's not how the mission is written, but that's what it embodies.
Gotcha. I did notice that there was a young lady, I can't remember her name, but from Maryland, um, does the marketing for a restaurant there. Um,
I
she,
Go ahead. I think I know who you're talking.
yeah, she spoke on the panel, and I'm like, how did I never visit this restaurant?
And I'll
I
give you more than that. Yeah, she actually does more than the marketing. She's the co-owner of the restaurant with her husband.
okay, okay,
That's Naja Wright Brown, who is the
yes, yes,
founder
yes,
of
yes.
Vegan Soul Fest in Baltimore, and the restaurant is Land of Kush. And she's also the founder of Black Veg Society, and she is a powerhouse. Oh, I've just met Naja. Well, actually, I met Naja at Black Veg Fest in Brooklyn last year. I attended her event, the last one they had a few years ago, but I didn't get to meet her there. But it's great. Now we're sort of on this. I don't know if you were there when she spoke or when I introduced her, but we're on this, rapid relationship mode. We're in this rapid relationship mode because between her events, so we'll just say Soul Fest, Philly VegFest, Black VegFest in Brooklyn, Texas VegFest, which is down in Austin, and the Vegan Taste in Atlanta. We have formed a coalition, the Federation of Vegan Festivals. And this is a dynamic group with a lot of doers, movers, and shakers. We meet every Thursday, 5 o'clock. We're on the phone with each other and we're sharing ideas. We're not just sharing the ideas, we are supporting each other's events. It's a lot of what do you need this week? We're promoting for each other. We're boosting promotions online. We are bringing in resources. We're helping with vendors. We're finding speakers. So we're also chasing grants and money to support our events. But doing this together, when we talk about community and support, one of my dogs is busy talking about community and support. This is, I think, the greatest jump in community and support I have seen from the side of a producer of events. It's immeasurable what we're doing together, and this is just the beginning of it.
I
But
love
yeah,
it.
that was Najee you saw on the stage, and
Yeah, I caught the tail end. I didn't catch the entire, presentation. But I did just move from Maryland, and I was surprised that I didn't visit that restaurant. It was hard for me to find vegan food in Maryland. In
what
DC,
part?
there were a few. So I was in like PG County area. I was in Greenbelt, and I did live in Southeast DC for a brief period of time. I was just kind of traveling.
One of
And
us just
what's that?
said one of us just froze. It may have been me. You were in PG County area, you said?
Yes, yes, yes. And then I lived in DC for a little bit, but I didn't find many vegan restaurants, and I didn't find a lot of like-minded individuals in the area. It might have been the area that I was in the circles I was in, but yeah. Next time I go, I'd have to visit Land of Kush.
I haven't been there either. It's in Baltimore, and I can't wait to get there. And just talking with Naja and her husband, yeah, they got notable folks who come through there. They told us some stories when we were at dinner after Veg Fest about Stevie Wonder coming through. A whole bunch of folks
Wow.
have come through there, so they're on the map.
Okay,
But I think
nice,
the food
nice,
was
nice.
awesome, so I wanted to check it out.
So you're featured in the Brother Vegan Black Men Speak,
I have a
and
copy right here.
yes, yes. So, how did being part of that anthology influence your vision for Philly VegFest?
I think, well, number one, this book let me see definitely that I was not alone. And there's some dynamic members of the Black vegan community in this book with a lot to say. Um, and I remember when I had sent a message to Omawale when I heard about this book. I said, "Hey man, I want to be involved in this, but I'm not sure how." He said, "Just tell your story about VegFest and your journey." So that's exactly what I did. And I've mentioned that timeline earlier. It kind of helped me to really give some thought to that timeline of my journey, and not only the parts that are in the rear view, but all right, what's on this timeline moving forward. And I think it was also a moment when I thought about just the vegan community and lifestyle with a great deal more of importance. Before when it started out, it was just something I was doing for myself, for my health, and then broadened into really thinking about community and the animals. And then, with VegFest, I love that event because it provides just a central point of information for so many people. I sometimes take it for granted. I don't think about it because I'm always in the motion of just putting it together. But when I'm there about midday, when I look at it, I think, wow, this thing is really going on, and it's just one of many, but it's so important. And when I hear feedback from people, it just lets me know that where would they be without it?
Mhm.
Um, it's just so much information that's there that day, and people are just meeting and arranging and making new plans. But yeah, this book, it really opened my eyes to likeness between myself and other people who are in the same journey, and then also aspects of it that I hadn't thought about. So it gives me some goals, and also lets me know there are a bunch of people out here whom I want to get in touch with just to talk
Mhm.
and share ideas and grow.
So, Brother Vegan explores the intersection of race, health, and plant-based lifestyles. How do you see these issues reflected in Philly's vegan community today?
In Philly's vegan community, um, I think as far as race is concerned, it's interesting watching the progression since I paid attention to Philly's vegan community. They're definitely, I don't want to say different trajectories, but they're different goals, I think, or different ideas of what the community is about from different types of people. I know that it's important to me that we're really looking at intersectionality and how is the vegan lifestyle, I guess, uh, not portrayed, but how is the vegan lifestyle um, welcomed by the Black community, um, from a health aspect and from the aspect of being animals on this planet. Um, how are our contributions being viewed? And I think that just people looking in, I don't the credit given for the of the whole food plant-based lifestyle in Black culture, which goes back as far as we can imagine Black culture. Um, we come from a place that's so rich in vegetation and food and plants and culture and community that it's undeniable. And I think a lot of people don't give credit to the fact that, no, this isn't something new for us. This is something that we're grasping from our culture
Yeah.
as far back as we can understand. And we're
Mhm.
introducing it. We've introduced it to many other parts of the world. So give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
So I think the community on a whole with veganism and a lot of things that I've seen put together just in the forefront was treated more like the lifestyle sort of a fad or something of style, and it's not. I think people need to understand, and this is the next part of it I want to work on with them. I do a lot of talking with Dr. Mills and a lot of plans that we put together as far as how it's of the utmost importance that we let people know that they can take control of their own health, especially at a time when we're watching the government take things away, Medicare, Medicaid, and your health benefits. And really, a lot of people are going to be placed in a position where they're on their own,
Mhm.
but they really don't have to be. So I think throughout the Black community, education is key.
Mhm.
And there are people out there who are very knowledgeable. We have some different businesses and different events in Philadelphia that come from the Black community. I know that I need to make sure that I am being part of what's happening and being aware of what's happening in different parts of the Black community, so we can sort of let's get everybody tied together. Networking is fantastic. At least make sure I'm part of and promoting if it's not already being done. There are a lot of people in Philadelphia, and bridging those gaps is important to me. I'm out here in the suburbs, but I do spend a lot of time in the city itself and running. And at the heart of what's going on with Philly VegFest, yeah, the Black men I'm running into, yes, they are. Um, but I also know through family and through other friends that there are some people who are just not believers of what's happening in the benefits of this lifestyle. There's many people out there who are still, tearing up food that I used to eat long ago and having trouble with understanding that this food is very beneficial. Maybe having difficulty with the understanding of that, this food has nothing to do with masculinity.
Mhm.
Um, So it's a hard thing. Sometimes I think we're making such great progress, and then I'll see some other things happening on the news, or I'll see some things online. I think what we're really in bad shape because people cannot get away from certain types of food. And I understand, I get it, it's an addiction, but we have a long way to go, not just as a black community, but just with people in general.
Yeah.
It's an uphill battle. And we've been gaslit our entire lives
Hmm.
as far as what food is able to do to us. So I can understand when people are in a place where they only believe what their doctors are telling them. They only believe what they're seeing on television and what the government may be putting forth as what's good for us. So definitely we have a lot to do. And that's probably the strongest part of the mission. It's just awareness and education. Awareness, awareness, awareness. And I think the only answer to that is digging in community and bringing the people to the community who can give the proper word in a safe and trusted way.
I did run into a vendor at VegFest who mentioned that the like initial like founding of veganism in general started in Philadelphia. Are you familiar?
Was that the gentleman who was on stage? Was that Vance Lemkool?
I think so. Yes.
Well, the term vegan, let me get my history straight from the Dinshaw family. Jay Dinshaw, who he was probably speaking about, um, he declared himself a vegan. I can't remember the year it was, but there was a slaughterhouse that he went to on Front Street. Don't remember the exact address, but he went into that Front Street. When he came outside, his shoes were covered in blood, and he left his shoes there and said, "I'll never eat another animal again." Um, and I don't want to quote the naming of the word or the use of the word. I've got to look back into Vance's materials to confirm that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of passed by and I'm interested. I'm gonna check them out. Was it the Vegan Society or something?
Yeah, it's the American Vegan Society, and that is the organization that was founded by the Dinshaw family,
Okay.
and they have the American Vegan Center in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I
Oh,
passed by
absolutely.
that a few times actually.
You've been there? I've been inside. I need to do more there. Vance and I speak once in a while and try to merge some events.
Mhm.
Uh, 'Cause I need to do, like we said, more outreach. They have different events in there, sometimes on Friday nights. I wish they were more heavily attended. And, that speaks to what's going on in the community. But they do promote and have events there. There's an event I'm going to, not in Philadelphia, but their key event is called Vegan Summerfest. I'll be there next week, actually, with Dr. Mills and Vance, who said it's like a mix of summer camp and college. I went last year for the first time. It's at the University of Pittsburgh in Johnstown. So it's fantastic. Many of the super docs who you can name are there speaking, sharing. We take classes all day long and have some fun at night. So it's like being back at summer camp, but it's a good time.
Nice, nice, nice. So you've emphasized the importance of programming, like live bands, speakers, panelists. How do these elements enhance the festival experience beyond food?
For me, I think that is the key to what I like doing for this event in Philadelphia. We'll always have food. That's a given. You better have good food at Veg Fest. The vendors are so important because they're at the heart of what's happening. And most people, when they think about going to a Veg Fest, they want to go and they want to eat. They
Yeah.
want to buy some things. They want to see some body products. They want to learn about different services and see what's happening in activism. So we'll always have that there. But I want people to stay and I want people to learn. So for me, it's like programming is key. So I carefully look into whom I want on my stages every year, what kind of themes do I want on the stages, and what kind of rich dynamic panels can we have. Uh, as far as the bands are concerned, well, we start I like to have a variety of music. I'm a jazz guy. I'm also a classic rock guy and a rap guy, all kinds of stuff. But jazz has always been at the heart of my enjoyment for music, and I've curated jazz series before. So I always like to kind of merge my worlds too. So whenever I can bring the vegan world and the jazz world together, I know a good deal of the heavy hitters in Philadelphia for straight ahead jazz, so we pull from that pool. I don't know if you saw the music this year or if you saw the jazz that was there, but Leon Jordan Sr., he also has a company that does sound. So Leon will handle all the sound for all the bands, and he'll put a quartet together each year that plays. As far as the music's concerned, I like to. Leon's also he is vegan. I like to make sure that somebody in the band is vegetarian or vegan or trying to lean that way, and I want the music to be rich. The Missing Frets, they play first each year. They always volunteer their time, and it's sort of just a tradition that's grown with them being there. Always have some jazz. The reggae band that was there this year, I've watched them for a few different years in Ambler, Pennsylvania at a music fest. I thought I need these guys to come to VegFest because they're the real deal. And it just so happened that they were available and they were playing in Ambler the night before. Well, I talked to them long before, but they said that's a perfect weekend. We'll already be in the area. We can come out and do your event. The guys who played last, who are the reality check experiment, I saw them at a legalization event a few years back. Yeah, they're working on their veganism and vegetarianism, but I love the music so much. It's like you guys have to come, and you definitely have to eat food while you're there and think about the lifestyle. And Koof Knotts and Christina Lease. Koof is of the lifestyle. He's legendary around Philadelphia, and his presence is growing outside of Philadelphia and throughout the country. Right now, they're in Alaska doing their yearly tour that they do there each year. And am I missing anybody? I'm missing one band, I think. Well, it'll come back to me in case I am. I think I covered five of them. But that's part of the programming. Wherever I am, I like to hear good music.
Yeah.
If I'm at an event, I want really good live music. So I think that's important to my event. I program it as if it's something I want to, and hopefully that resonates with the others who are coming. I think it does.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely a music fan. I love live music, so I enjoyed that part of it. I did catch the reggae band and the reality check band. Those are the two that I was able to see. Uh,
Nice.
but what were the most memorable moments or like attendee reactions from this year's Veg Fest, you think? Any
That's
surprises,
a good question.
highlights?
We're still filtering through that because I'm getting feedback, and I now have all the well, I've had it for a while. I've got the recap videos and a lot of video this year. As I finally hired somebody who will be sure to give me the video and get it out of their devices. So the recap video is probably going to be put up today or tomorrow. But she also got some reactions from festival goers. Still working on that one because everybody comes for a different reason, it seems. But people, they say they love the food. There's certain vendors who they talk about. This year, I was really happy to see how much attention was paid to the speakers on the stages because I think it's important that people are getting those messages. And even if you're not sitting right at the stage, it's set up so that you can still hear what's being said, you know, pretty far into the festival, and that's a good thing. You don't have to be sitting to absorb. But we had fun at the stages, and some people write in and talk about how much they love the music. So all different aspects are enjoyed. That's why I like to have multiple things happening as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I really
What was a
enjoyed.
favorite for you?
I really
As
enjoyed
for
the speakers. I caught I can't remember her name, but she's the owner of um, Charlie was a Sinner, Bar Bon Bon, and
oh, yeah. That's Nicole Marquis.
yes, I've been to all of her restaurants, enjoy the food thoroughly, and I did enjoy
Okay,
listening to her as well as Dr. Mill. I caught those two,
that's excellent.
which I really enjoyed, and the food was great. I mentioned to you the sushi was really good. I've been trying to get the sushi since that day, but every time I call them, they're not like open. So hopefully I catch them one of these days. And
Those guys, those guys are awesome. Yeah, Tokyo Sushi. Yeah, all the vendors are awesome, but I did have some of their sushi. Well, not that day. I had some, and I didn't eat it till the next morning. But it was, ooh, it's so good.
yeah.
I think I met them in Brooklyn for the first time, and when they told me they were in our area, I was like, "Well, you have to come to Philly Veg Fest." So
So this is Philly Veg Fest. Where else do you guys have the festival? I know you mentioned Brooklyn Black Veg Fest. Are these connected or because I'm not
All right, I'll fill you in. Now, I personally only produce the one in Philadelphia. I
okay.
mean, there are many Veg Fests throughout the country. So Veg Fest is a shared term, and there are different organizers who put on their Veg Fests in different cities throughout the country. Um, the coalition I mentioned, that's a new thing for us, where we're bringing together those five Veg Fests because we realize, we can do more together with a shared mission as far as raising monies for our events, awareness for our events, and bringing the richness that we want to see at each event in vendors and in speakers. Let's share and do more and share ideas because we're all pretty well seasoned in event production. So we're bringing our expertise together. But so we don't apply Philadelphia Veg Fest anywhere else, but I have some input in other areas, if that answers your question.
Yes.
Will I do another Veg Fest somewhere else? Sure. If somebody calls from a community that is lacking in Veg Fest and says, "Can you help us put one on? Or would you do this for us?" In any way I can help, I certainly will. Event production is something I think I'm pretty good at as far as mid-sized festivals are concerned. So if somebody out there needs a Veg Fest, give a call. If you need consulting or help, I'd love to help in any way that I can.
Nice. So you have partnerships like the Animal Sanctuary, Indracola or Indraloka. Am I
In, in,
pronouncing that correctly?
Indra Yes, Indra.
Um, what impact do you hope the festival has on animal advocacy and nonprofit collaboration?
The impact I want to see is Indraloka does so much work and they have so many moving parts, just like other large animal sanctuaries. And I mean, the fact of the matter is they need money to make it work. And the animals don't work and don't bring money with them when they show up, but they have needs. They have medical needs, they have housing needs, they have property needs, and all the things that go along with owning large property and animal care and finding resources and people to take part in that animal care. It takes money. So this is the first year we've actually named them as beneficiaries. We've had for the past 5 years, or the past five events, we've had a relationship with them where Indra would come and speak and be a presenting sponsor and spread awareness throughout our community. We go to their Thanksgiving event. I try to fill a table there with newcomers, people who are new to their organization, so they can come out and be supporters and learn about the work they do there. But this year I just said, you know what? Let's just name you guys as beneficiaries, and we'll do some fundraising, on your behalf, and let people know that you will be there, and we're collecting monies for your organization. So I want to make that a yearly thing. Not that we're just bringing aware to during the festival, but all throughout the year. Talking about the work they do and encouraging people to give $5, give $500, whatever it may be, just to help them because it takes money and they cannot do it by themselves. So if we can bring awareness to the importance of what they do, the importance of bringing just peace and some sanity to the lives of these animals who are going through hell in slaughterhouses or where they're abandoned or where they're abused, um, if we can help to bring awareness to that, then that's better because people aren't always aware of what's going on. And many turn a blind eye to it, and many just don't know. And some
Yeah.
people are shocked when they find out what's happening in the animal agriculture industry. So all awareness is good awareness. And if we can help them in any way, we're just going to keep doing that.
So looking forward, what's your vision for next year and how do you see its role evolving in Philly's wellness and food justice ecosystem?
Next year, we're back in I'm 99% sure we're back in our area, in our space at Bainbridge Green. That's where we started. And that's why I've been trying to get back to the green, and I'm finally back there.
Okay.
Um, I have some features that I won't talk about yet that I'm bringing. There are like two new features I want to bring to the event that we can talk about in a later broadcast maybe. But it's part of programming and it's also a big part of community involvement. So bringing more people to the event as well, but some features that I don't think I've seen at a Veg Fest, tying into maybe underserved communities and just yeah, lifestyle. It'll be pretty neat. We'll definitely be there I'm working on my programming already for next year. I've asked a few of the bands already to come back, but for programming, I think I want to focus on, we had a dynamic women's panel this year. I want to do some things dealing with de demystifying masculinity in the vegan culture and in the regular culture itself. So looking for some men from different aspects, and not just men, but women can come in and give their input as well. But that's one of the ideas I think I have for one of the panels next year. I want to get more panels. Usually we have at least two panels along with the speakers. The time just didn't work out that way this year. And I'm looking to change the time from 12 to 7. It gives us an additional hour, but it also brings us there during dinner. I thought that's a no-brainer. Why not have people there for 2 meals, which will help the vendors who are there get a different look on vending in Philadelphia during lunch and the dinner time. Why are we sending people away wondering what they're going to eat tonight when they can be doing it right there at the festival?
Exactly.
So, same thing, working on dynamic programming, and the things just come to me at some point. I'm always thinking about it, and there'll be some ideas that hit me, or I meet some people that definitely have something that I want to see shared on the stages. I guess the biggest constraint is time, time and money. So making it work, paying people for their time there. And then we only have, we'll have 7 hours if we're using those times. So how much can I put on the stage in an effective way? I think we did a good job on the stages this year because everything was just boom, 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 boom. But we were respectful of everybody's time and we stayed on time, which was great.
Okay. So where can the audience find you, follow you, your website or your Instagram handle?
I'll give you all of that. Website is vegfest.com.
Philly
Instagram, we are Philly VegFest. I'm sorry. Yeah, phillyvegfest.com on our website. Our Instagram is Philly VegFest, and the only difference we have for Facebook is that we're Philadelphia VegFest. So those are the best places to find us. And if they want to send an email, info@phillyvegfest.com.
Okay. And if someone wants to be a vendor, they can reach out to you on these platforms or?
Yes. Since the registration forms are not up yet, the best way for vendor interest is, reach out on any of those platforms. The best would be send an email to info@phillyvegfest.com with vendor in the subject line and just say who you are, how we get back to you. And we'll make sure we put you on that alert list for when the early bird invitation goes out.
Nice.
Same for speakers and bands and volunteers, who are very, very important. We had a great set of volunteers this year. I'd like to see more. And I think that has to do with just my solicitation for volunteers at an earlier time. But the volunteers are key. And the ones we get, the people who want to volunteer, they're awesome. They come out. Some come and just work all day long because they love the atmosphere. They love the cause. They love what we're doing. So when you have people who are really enthused about the event, it's not, they're not out there burdening themselves. They're out there just being happy. And some people love to volunteer for tons of things. So it's always good.
Well, good to know. I might show up and volunteer next year if I'm in the area for sure.
That would be fantastic.
But
right.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. I definitely, like I said, appreciate your time. And, do you have any parting words before we go?
Parting words. Yeah. As far as these types of events are concerned, there are many Veg Fests around. Google Veg Fests in your area or even not in your area. Go to different Veg Fests. They're a lot of fun. If you've never been to one, you go, you meet people, and it's an atmosphere. There's not anger, there's not violence. Everybody's happy to be there. It's a great crowd. So you meet some amazing people. So go to a Veg Fest or go to another vegan event. Look into the health aspect in the whole food plant-based world, look up doctors like Dr. Mills and Dr. Greger and Dr. Esselstyn and Dr. Barnard. There are a slew of them out there. Look and see what they're doing and what they're talking about, and share that information with your family and your friends who you see are struggling with ailments, and, small ailments, large ailments, or people who are just addicted to the standard American diet when you know where that's taking them at some point in the future. If you can change that trajectory in your friends, in your family, it's the impact is immense. You think about what you can do in your own family, especially with your children. If you can change the way that people in your family eat, it's everybody that carries your blood, carries your name, you're going to change the trajectory of their health and their lives just for an eternity, as long as they exist.
Yeah.
Because that's where we learn about it, at home.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, I appreciate you. I enjoyed the conversation, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
Same to you. Thank you so much for having me on. I'd love to come back sometime. And when I do get my podcast moving, I certainly would love to have you on board.
I would
And maybe
definitely,
we'll even see you on a stage at VegFest.
I'm open to all of it. You know where I'm at. Just, hit my DM.
Okay.
I would love to.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good one. Take care.
Bye-bye.